Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, or afternoon, or whatever time of day it is. Today's topic is real world integers. We're going to look at how everything we've been talking about, positive and negative numbers, applies to real world situations. And a big focus of today is having you recognize word problems that use integers and recognize the kind of words that should give you a heads up. Hey, I'm an integer word problem. You also need to be able to write situations that represent math sentences or expressions that have integers. So go ahead and put your heading, real world integers. Make sure you put a page number and a date on a new page in your notebook. And the objective is I can write math expressions that represent real world situations with integers. I can also write real world situations that represent math expressions with integers. So it's the same skill, just being able to translate from math to English and from English to math. Okay? It should be a pretty quick lesson today. First thing we need to do, though, and this should still be on the same page, write words that describe integers. You might want to put it in a great big box. These are important. You need to see, as soon as you see one of these words, it's a signal I am probably dealing with integers. So some of the words we have are decreased, like for example, the temperature decreased. Negative, well, that's a clear indication that you're dealing with negative numbers. Debt, when you owe somebody money, those represent negative number situations. Descend, you'll see that a lot with they love word problems. The scuba diver started at 10 feet below, oh, there's below sea level, and then descended another 50 feet. Dropped, dropped is a good one. Debit, okay, when you're looking at bank kind of situations, credits and debits. Debits are where you take money out or you put a negative charge on your account. So write these words down, circle them, color them in. They're important. When you see words like this, you need to think integers. I want to add another one, though, that I didn't put on here because it's a little bit weird. When you see B problems that deal with BC or AD, those are time measurements. BC is before the year zero, and AD is after the year zero. So right now we are in AD right now. We are the year 2013 AD. But sometimes you'll see measurements of time that say, okay, well, in 538 BC, so and so was the king of blah blah. Okay, ask Mr. Brown. He knows more history than me. So BC would be represented by the negatives, and AD would be represented by positive numbers. So let's jump right into some word problems here. And let's go to your next page and put the heading Turning English into Math and write yourself this note. Look for the key words. Keywords are so important anytime you are doing a word problem, figuring out what it's talking about. Now, I gave you copies of these word problems today in class, so you can cut them out and put them in your notebook. I didn't want to have to make you copy every single question. Let's go through here, and we're going to start by looking for key words, important words. So the problem is Mount Everest, the highest elevation in Asia, is 29,028 feet above sea level. The Dead Sea, the lowest elevation, is 1,302 feet below sea level. What is the difference between these two elevations? Some keywords. Highest. That gives us an idea of height. Okay, that would be on the positive side of integers. And we have 29,028. That's a number. That's going to be important here. Then we have the Dead Sea, which is the lowest elevation. Low, and it is 1,312 feet below sea level. That word below we talked about, that means that this is a negative number, negative 1,312 feet. And then another really important word here is difference. Difference is a word that tells us subtract. Okay? And if you don't know that, I've got a little activity that I think we're going to do in class to see what kind of words you know, like product and quotient and difference and all those words that are important when you're dealing with word problems. But for now, let's just deal with this specific word problem and worry about that later on. So we have our important words circled. We know that 29,028 is an important word. 29,028. And I see difference. Difference is a huge keyword here. That's going to mean subtraction. And then I have this 1,312 feet below sea level. That's going to be negative 1,312 feet. Notice I have a number minus negative. I told you in the video yesterday, and I've said it again and again and again. Anytime you have a subtraction problem, I need you guys to change it to addition. So if I were to change this problem to addition, it would be keep the first number, 29,028, and I'll make that a color that you can see a little bit better on this background. 29,028, change subtraction to addition, and take the opposite of this second number. So instead of it being negative, it's going to become positive, 1,312. That is my new problem. Rewrite subtraction as addition. And then hopefully you guys can add multi-digit numbers like this. Our answer, let me see if I can do this in my head real quick, is going to be 0, then we're going to have a 4, then we're going to have a 3, and a 0, and a 4. 40,340 feet is the difference between the Mount Everest and the Dead Sea. And if I made a little math mistake, I apologize. If you call me out on it and you're right, I'll give you a piece of candy. All right, moving on. I have 3 more word problems that I want you to try on your own, and they're on that sheet that I gave you. I want you to go through and underline the important keywords in each problem and see if you can solve them. Go ahead and pause the video, and then we're going to work through each one kind of quickly so I don't take too much of your time. But I do want you to try each of them first. So pause your video in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, so the first problem you were supposed to do on your own, you should have noticed the key parts of this problem. Negative 14 dropped 7 degrees, and what is the temperature now? So we can start out by saying, all right, we start at negative 14 and then it dropped. That's subtraction. Negative 14 minus 7. Use my rule of keep change opposite. And I end up with negative 14 plus, subtraction becomes addition. Take the opposite of the second number, and that's negative 7. And my answer is negative 21. So it is now negative 21 degrees in New York. And the really nice thing about word problems is you can check yourself to see if it makes sense. Okay, so it was negative 14 and then it got colder. So yeah, negative 21, that makes sense. Negative 21 degrees Fahrenheit. The next problem, okay, when you're dealing with dates, guys, like in this problem, Roman civilization began in 509 BC and ended in 476 AD. It is so useful to use a numbered line. And it doesn't have to be a perfect number line. It can just kind of be a general number line. I'll say that this is year 0. Remember, BC is negative, so that would be left on the number line. Let's say each little mark represents 100. So 100, 200, 300, 400, 500. All right, that's about when it started. And then it ended in 476 AD. That's after 0. So 100, 200, 300, almost 400. Then I ask myself, okay, what's the problem looking for? It's looking for the entire length of the Roman civilization. So I'm going to have to take this part and this part and figure out how much altogether that is. So when I write my word problem, when you're figuring out the difference between 2 times, so like from this 509 to the 476, you're looking for the difference between those 2 points. Difference is subtraction. Okay, and if you don't believe me, watch what happens when I work this out. 476 minus negative 509. Keep change opposite, it becomes 476 plus 509. and I end up with 985 years. And if I look back at my number line, yeah, that kind of makes sense. Ooh, that looks like a face. Ah, hello. But it kind of makes sense that that distance would be over 900 years. So use the number line to kind of help you visualize the situation. This problem is another great one to use a number line on. I'm going to say that this is 0, and I'm going to go back by, let's say each little line is 50. So 50, 100, 150, 200, 250, and then there's where about 264 BC is going to be. And then it lasted until 146 BC. So 50, 100, and that'll be about 146. I'm looking for the difference between these two numbers. Difference is subtraction. Negative 146 minus negative 264. Keep change opposite. I end up with negative 146 plus 264, and then I end up with 118 years long. Okay, so if these were confusing to you, I understand. You'll get the hang of them the more we do them. Go back and rewatch that part of the video if you need to and look at how I used the number lines. And tomorrow we can take a lot of questions about this and we'll work through a bunch of these. What I want to do now is go to the next page in your notebook. And this is the part where it gets fun, where you can be really kind of creative. At the next page of your notebook, put the heading, Turning Math into English. And I want you guys to get really creative here. Of course, creative in a way that still makes sense, but get creative. I have 4 different problems for you. This first one is negative 4 plus 10. And I want you to write a real world situation that would represent this problem. And I'll do this first one for you just in case you're getting a little bit confused. So, how about, let me think. Oh, I know. I am a super awesome jumper. Okay? That's how my problem's going to start. I'm a super awesome jumper. I started my jump 4 feet 4 feet down in a hole. I got trapped there when I fell in. See how much fun you can make it? I know. Math is so awesome. Okay, so I started my jump 4 feet down in a hole. I jumped a total of 10 feet high. Wow, that's awesome. How far above ground did I end up? Okay, so I started at 4 below ground, that's negative 4, and I jumped up 10 feet. That means I reached a total height of 6 feet in the air. I should be a part of the Olympics. Okay, so now I have 3 more for you. Write these down in your notebook and come up with some really creative word problems. I can't wait to see them tomorrow. So the next one is negative 159 plus negative 632. Pause the video and come up with a great example for that. Then we have 52 minus 81. Pause the video, come up with a good problem. And last but not least, oh, I only had 3 for you. Oh, very good. Okay, so you have 3 word problems now written, including the one that I made up about the awesome super high jumper. And now you don't have to write this in your notebook. I want you to type this into Edmodo in the reflection section when you turn in your assignment. Don't forget to write it in there, otherwise I can't grade it. And I want you to write your own real-world integer question word problem. I want you to turn it into a math sentence, much like we did back here with the wars and the temperature and all that. And then I want you to solve the problem that you wrote from your word problem. And I'm going to be looking at them when you turn in your assignments and seeing if they make sense. And with that, this video is done, and I will see you in class tomorrow.